Now, there's been a lot of commentary over the past few days about pit bulls, whether they should be banned, not banned. I know the SPCA also indicating that quite a number of individuals, I think it was over 50 if I'm not mistaken, will ask Dr Sizwe Kupelo from the Sizwe Kupelo Foundation about that very shortly, where there are those that are in favour of the ban. We're also joined by Lins Rautenbach, who is the Public Relations Officer at the Pit Bull Federation of South Africa, and Karin, who's a lecturer in Animal Behaviour at the Centre of Applied Pet Ethology. And we're also requested the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development for their participation in this discussion, but we're informed that none of their veterinarians are available. Let's start with you, Dr Kupelo. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. Why are you in favour of a ban as opposed to strict regulations, if I may? All right, we don't seem to have Dr Kupelo at this particular stage. I want to bring in Lins. Perhaps we could start with you. What is the stance of your organisation regarding this proposed ban?
We're opposed to a ban. The reason we're opposed to a ban is one just has to look at the increase in maulings in the UK and Australia and in some states in America where they are banned. Banning them is not going to deter people from owning these dogs. All you're going to do is you're going to either shift ownership from pit bulls to another breed of dog who's going to cause carnage, or you're just going to have this runaway, uncontrolled ownership of pit bulls. We are for strict regulations. We are for the enforcement of bylaws. We are really for licensing of dogs. We want it to become really difficult for you to own a power breed dog, and not just a pit bull. We are talking about dogs like bull terriers, staffies, Rottweilers, German shepherds, Dobermans, boer bulls. These dogs cause massive damage to people. You know, one of the things that a lot of people on social media like to say is, but a Jack Russell bites, but a Chihuahua bites. The difference is when these dogs bite, you have a few holes, you might get 2 or 3 stitches. When a pit bull bites you or any power breed bites you, it is massive tissue damage, it's death, it's carnage. So for us, we don't want the average person to own these dogs. And also to own these dogs, we would like it to become a case of to own
Sorry,
them,
Lins,
you will need to
if
jump
I could just
through
come in
hoops.
there. You said you don't want the average person to own these dogs. What do you mean by that? Because, of course, I think a lot of the commentary now is about, the deaths that we have seen. Of course, other organizations are calling for a complete ban. What kind of regulations are you talking about here? And when you say it shouldn't be owned by the ordinary Joe Soap, what are you talking about? What do you mean?
Well, every breed of dog in existence exists for a reason. And there are dogs who exist for certain things. Now, your guardians, like your bull bulls, your German shepherds, your Rottweilers, these dogs were bred for guarding and in some cases herding. The pit bull terrier was bred for one thing, and that was dog fighting. They descended from the bull baiting dogs, but the pit bull in its modern format existed for dog fighting. Now, to own an American pit bull terrier is a lot of responsibility. Let's say the dog isn't human aggressive, but is dog aggressive. You would need to know how to protect people around you's animals. And a lot of things, especially in the rural communities and in the townships, we often hear of these dogs escaping, and they might not bite people, but they're attacking other people's dogs, they're attacking livestock. Now, any power breed dog requires a special owner. You need to be able to control these dogs, which means you need to be dedicated to early and ongoing socialization, which is not dogs being friendly with the world, but dogs being taught life skills and how to cope in society. They also require a lot of training in the sense that you and your dog need to work together. You need to know how to control this dog, and this dog does need to be in control and have boundaries. Yeah. Your property is another thing. You know, these, especially a pit bull, some of these dogs can clear a 2-meter wall. So your property needs to be properly secured. They need to be kept in. You cannot have any power breed that can kill a person escaping. So if you look at what it takes to own a power breed dog, the average dog owner wants a pet. You want a dog to live in your garden or live in your home, be part of your family. Owning a power breed dog is a lot more than that. Owning a power breed dog comes with responsibility.
Yeah, Lins, we want to bring in Karin as well. Karin, I mean, what is it about the behavior of pit bulls, that we need to comprehend? Do you agree with what Lins is saying, that, they shouldn't necessarily be family dogs, but they're there for a particular reason, and there should be some kind of regulation?
Absolutely. I agree with Lins 100%. Pit Bull Terriers have the capacity to be really nice, loving dogs, but they also have the capacity to inflict a huge amount of damage under the right circumstances. They're not inherently bad dogs. They're dogs that were bred for a very specific purpose, and under the right circumstances, with the right triggers, that purpose will come to the forefront, irrespective of how loved the dog is, irrespective of how well treated the dog is. And that is where, like Lynn said, and I agree completely, regular people shouldn't own Pit Bull Terriers. They are dogs that require extensive knowledge. If you want to have one, you need to understand what you're dealing with. And you need to understand that your Pit Bull Terrier is not going to be the same as a Golden Retriever, and no amount of love can turn him into a Golden Retriever. You have to be completely aware of the fact that if you have a dog like this, it is your responsibility to keep the dog and everyone else around this dog safe. And people become complacent because they think that if they socialize their dog and they train him, that dog is never going to aggress. And like I said, unfortunately, you have got a genetic predisposition that this dog has been bred for over lots of time. And in the right circumstances, with the right stimuli, the dog is likely to exhibit their particular breed-specific characteristics. And that's where the problems come in, because people think that because they love their dogs, because their dogs are well cared for, that the dog will never do something like that. And unfortunately, it's that amount of, I don't want to use the word denial, but it's probably a good word. It's comfortable to think that if I love my dog is never going to do something. And it's only dogs that are abused, or dogs that are treated poorly, or dogs that have been teased that have the capacity to do that. And that is definitely not the case.
All right, we also have some calls coming through. I think it's Malume in Pretoria who was joining us on the line. Malume, thank you so much for engaging with us on the program. What is your comments?
Thank you, Crisilda. I'm actually phoning on behalf of my cousin. His wife was beaten by 4 pit bulls on the 5th of November on her way to work.
And then are these pit bulls that were owned by someone in the community there?
Yes. He tells me that they came out of the yard. It's owned by a white person in Mountain View. And they mauled her until she was assisted by neighbors. And ultimately she was admitted in Kalafong Hospital.
Is she okay?
She's not. She was severely beaten.
Malume, thank you so much. We really appreciate your call on that. And perhaps this would be the appropriate time to bring in Dr. Kupelo, who's with the Sizwe Kupelo Foundation. They've been calling or are in favour of a ban as opposed to strict regulations. Dr. Kupelo, thank you very much indeed for your time here on the program. You're calling for a complete ban as opposed to strict regulations. We've just heard on the line there Malume from Pretoria talking about, one of his family members being mauled by, I think he said 4 pit bulls?
Yes, indeed. We are calling for a complete ban. We want declassification of the breed. And with the number of cases that are being reported, even those that were never reported, further substantiate our call. We want government to come in and put a stop to the ongoing carnage. We want our children to feel free on the streets, on the parks. We want neighbors not to be threatened by this monster dog. We also want to save those who own the breed. We are saying to them there is an alternative. Look for other power breeds if you're concerned about the safety of your family. This dog is a problem. Now, if you're keeping it in order to protect your family from crime, look at other alternatives. So we're appealing to government, we're appealing to everyone. We're also very grateful with the support that we've received from South Africans across the country. The signatures that we've requested through the petition are just over 100,000, which clearly illustrate that indeed we've raised an issue that has been bothering so many South Africans.
We've had, Mr. Kupelo, word from other organizations, and I hope you were listening in. There are more in favor of strict regulations, saying that the pit bull, has always been, the kind of animal or dog which has a specific use. There is dog fighting and a number of other, it's not a family pet. So don't you think strict regulations would be something that, would assist? And what kind of strict regulation would you think could assist in this problem?
The experts will say that the breed was never meant to be human aggressive. But the reality is that we are threatened by the breed, and something has to be done, not yesterday, not tomorrow. It has to be done now. We can't afford the loss of lives that we're witnessing. Look, Zelda, we launched this petition in the middle of October. Now we're talking of 4 attacks. 2 children have survived, but 2, unfortunately, have lost their lives. We don't have to justify an animal. We must do the right thing. Yes, in our correspondence to the 3 departments, as the foundation, we do appeal that notwithstanding the existence of legislations, we need further regulations that would compel any South African who wishes to own any power breed to undergo basic training, to be required to have a license, the same way you would be expected to undergo if you want to own a gun. Because we regard this particular breed as a loaded gun, so is the other power breed. So we need to do something. But with regards to this particular breed, with the number of attacks and deaths that have occurred in South Africa, without looking elsewhere in the world, there is no other way. Government must look at banning this, declassify it as a pet. There is no pet that behaves this way. And with this call, we are trying to rescue the owners themselves, because this is the monster that they're keeping in their households.
All right. Dr. Kupelo, we'll come back to you very shortly. Lins, I'm sure you heard what Dr. Kupelo is saying, is that, these pit bulls are like a loaded gun. I mean, who should take the responsibility? We've seen the headlines over the past couple of days, of a number of incidents where, unfortunately, some children have died. And we had one of the callers talking about his relative being mauled by 4 pit bulls. Who should take the responsibility when someone is injured or even killed?
The owner of the dog. In every mauling, be it pit bull or any breed, it's human error, and it's a combination of various factors. We start off with really bad breeding. Temperament of a dog is genetic. Now, some pit bulls have got phenomenal temperaments, some don't, and it's been proven that aggression is largely genetic. Then you've got the nurture side of it, where you've got a dog who's now got a bad temperament, is now being owned very irresponsibly. These people keep these dogs in small gardens. They've got insufficient fencing. Sometimes they're kept in small cages or on short chains. Then you've got owners who are complacent and they fall into this nanny dog myth. So they believe the dog is perfectly safe around kids. You've got owners who haven't dedicated themselves to early ongoing socialization and training. You've got people who have fallen into this myth that they're these perfect, lovable teddy bear dogs. So it's human. It's a human error. And banning a breed of dog is the easy way out. We have laws in South Africa. All that needs to happen is for them to be enforced, from the bylaws right down to the Animals Matters Amendment Act. All that needs to happen is we need owners whose dogs, regardless of breed, are maiming or killing people to be criminally charged. And the reason that we are seeing an increase is because there's nobody who's been held to account. Neither the police nor the metros want to open up cases when there is a mauling. Many times a victim does go and try and open a case, and the SAPS either flat out refuse or they don't know how to. Or when you do get a good member of the SAPS who has opened a case and compiled the docket, neither the prosecutors nor the magistrates want to take it on. How have we gotten to the point where we will enforce some laws, but other criminal acts, it doesn't matter? Accountability and human error is the problem here.
All right, Lins, we'll come back to you very shortly. Let's go to Lazarus, who is, I think, in Artridgeville. Yes, he is. Lazarus, good afternoon to you. Thanks indeed for getting in touch with us. What is your comment? Lazarus, go ahead. We can hear you. All right, we seem to have lost Lazarus there in Attridgeville, one of our callers. He wanted to opine on what should happen regarding, these pit bulls. Karin, perhaps I could bring you in as well and perhaps pose the same question. Who should be taking responsibility in the meantime while this discussion or this, a topic goes on? Who should take responsibility for those who are injured or even killed as a result of the pit bulls?
It is never, ever, ever in any kind of dispute that it's the owner that should take responsibility. If you have a dog who has the potential to inflict this amount of damage, it is your responsibility to make sure that that dog is never put in a situation where he can actually do this kind of thing. That means sufficiently high enough fences that are sturdy enough. It means understanding what your particular dog needs. And in the case of pit bull terriers, these are not the kind of dogs that you take to the beach and let off lead normally, because that is setting them up for the wrong situation for them to make mistakes. And when they make mistakes or when they cross these arousal thresholds, that is when these horrible, horrible things happen. As a pit bull owner, it is your responsibility. You are legally held responsible for whatever your dog does. And my experience is slightly different to Lins's in the sense that I am at the moment busy with quite a lot of legal cases involving pit bull attacks, but more from a suburban perspective, where people are now actually taking pit bull owners to task about the fact that the dog got out or somebody had access to the dog. And for me, that is a good sign. It means that people are starting to understand that it's not as simple as just going, oh, well, a dog's a dog and things will happen. There is now actually some accountability that is starting to happen. And that is important, because if you take on the responsibility of a pit bull terrier, you have to understand that anything that that dog does is going to reflect on you and you're going to be held liable for it.
Karin, let's bring in James from Pretoria, who has a comment on this issue. James, good afternoon to you. Thanks indeed for getting in touch with us. What is your comment?
Good afternoon, Chapter, and thanks for the opportunity.
All right, we do apologize. I really don't know what's happening with our lines this afternoon, but James also gone there. I'm hoping he would be able to give us a call back. Dr. Kupelo, perhaps let me come to you while we try to re-establish that connection with James. Quite a number of viewers trying to get their comments on this. Dr. Kupelo, you say that more than 100,000 people have signed this petition. Are you looking at, we're hearing Karin say that there are people who are now taking legal action against the owners of these pit bulls if they bite someone or if they're responsible for the death of someone? What do you plan to do with this petition now? Take it to government to advance your cause?
Well, yes, there are existing laws. People must be held accountable for what their dogs have done. There are over 500,000 people that have gone through our petition. We are sitting with dozens of testimonies, pictures of victims who have lost their limbs. They don't have their arms. They've got deep scars. They have been neglected. They are coming forward because the foundation has raised this matter. But our main aim is to get the pit bull declassified or banned. We want it out of society. So the purpose of the petition was to appeal to South Africans to support the foundation. Our target was 50,000. We are now ready to hand over the petition to the responsible department, which is the Department of Agriculture in Pretoria. We are already in touch with the Office of the Minister. We've requested a date so that we can go and hand over the petition. And our fundamental call is for the ban of the breed and the other recommendations that we have made.
Yeah.
But we are against the killing of the existing dogs. So we recommended that they be castrated and sterilized so as to prevent further breeding and to allow a more managed process to get rid of the breed from society.
Dr. Kupelo, let's take a call now. James in Pretoria, you're back on the line with us. What is your comment? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Kupelo. Thanks for the opportunity. I mean, it's painful, man. I mean, for me, completely banned, because we can't talk about the strictly regulation of it is something must be done like before. And I really need our government to take a part of this, because of the owners of the dog. They don't know, they don't want to take the responsibility, and it's their responsibility to take care of these dogs. They must make sure, I mean, the yard is secured, the dogs, I mean, the gate must always be closed. But they just live things like that. Such a young boy lives, I mean, his life because of the dog. So we want this dog to be out in our society. We cannot carry it on like this.
James, thank you very much calling us from Pretoria there for your comment, wanting a total ban. Let's go now to Victor, I understand, who is in Durban. Victor, good afternoon to you. What is your comment?
Okay, ma'am, I was watching the news this morning, and I was watching this pit bull kill this 8 years baby, 8 years boy. And I felt so sorry about it, and they said, phone SAB and give comments about the pit bull.
Yeah. So what do you want to see, Victor? A total ban, or do you want regulation of these pit bulls? What would you like to see happen going forward?
I feel that they totally must ban the pit bull out. It's a so dangerous dog.
Yeah, go ahead, Victor, please.
Totally ban it out.
All right. Victor, thank you very much. Victor calling us from Durban, also wanting a total ban there. Perhaps I could come back to you, Karin, on that. How do you then plan to advance your argument? There seems to be a lot of, people calling for a ban. Of course, there is the other side as well that's calling for regulation. That commentary does exist in our society. How do you plan to advance this argument in the face of what we've seen over the past couple of weeks?
I think the first thing that we need to be realistic about, and before I say this, let me just say that any loss of life is undeniably horrible. It is awful. And it is a tragedy when human lives and animal lives are lost. Having said that, we live in a country where law enforcement is already battling to stay on top of things. And banning dogs going forward, for me, just from a very practical perspective, is how would that be enforced? In other countries where they have banned the breed, people still have pit bullish dogs, but they just don't call them pit bulls anymore. And the problem with banning anything into non-existence is it forces people to then hide the dogs that they have. It forces people to keep the dog secret or to not actually seek help when help is needed. There are a lot of people out there with dogs that need help, and a lot of people that maybe want to have advice about how do I keep my dog safe and how do I keep other people safe. And if we say, okay, well, you know what, let's ban all the pit bulls, those people are going to be too scared to come forward to ask for help. And for me as a behaviorist, that is a problem, because we can't, if we can educate one person and give them information about how to keep their dog safe, and that preempts the injury or death of one individual, whether that's a dog or a person, to me that is worth it. But legislating them out of being illegal drives people underground, and that is just something that we've seen in quite a few countries. Whereas if you say, okay, fine, yes, these dogs have got the potential to be dangerous. Yes, these dogs have the potential to inflict a lot of damage. However, in order to have a pit bull, these are the things that you need to do. These are the things that you need to know in order to keep this dog safe, and then rather apply legislation to this is a requirement that must happen when you have this dog, because that is something that is a lot easier to enforce for law enforcement than what do we do with all these dogs? I know that quite a lot of people have already started thinking about, well, now I need to go and relinquish my pit bull. And these dogs are going to flood into rescue organizations. And they're already suffering with limited resources and all those kinds of things. So absolutely, if you have a dog that's uncontrollable, if you have a dog who's potentially dangerous, you are responsible. But even if you have a dog who's never shown the predisposition or never shown any kind of behavior that indicates that this dog could bite somebody, you still need to take into consideration that the dog might. I've been looking at the headlines that have been going through here, and the one thing that I want to just draw attention to is the fact that pit bulls are inherently reactive dogs. And when we talk about reactivity from a behavioral perspective, we talk about how quickly does the dog disinhibit when there's something to make him excited. They are not automatically all aggressive. Aggression is a strategy that you use, and aggression is a strategy for pit bulls that are either used when they're doing what they're bred to do, or when they're scared, or whatever the circumstance. But they're not automatically aggressive.
All right, Karin, let's bring in Lins. Your closing comments on this?
For us as well, education is vital. You cannot say to people, we're going to ban a breed and we're going to stop things, if they don't actually know how to own these dogs. And unfortunately, when these dogs became popular, the breeders saw money, and so did the rescue organizations, but nobody, I think, has ever taught people how to own these dogs. So before going in and banning, enforce legislature, and we've now said we will reach out to various organizations. We are in discussion with some very ethical rescue organizations who work on the ground. And for us going forward, we would like to reach out, get easy to understand educational material in all 11 official languages, and send people out with, and send this information out with these people on the ground and reach the communities. And we could do a lot more by simply educating people than just telling everybody you can't own these dogs. Rather reach the people who should own them. We commend the owners who have already surrendered their dogs, and when they've realized they're not the right people, they can't meet the dog's needs.
All right.
They've come to realize they've got a problem.
Mr. Kupelo, let's come to you for your closing remarks.
South Africa is not going to be the first country to impose such a ban. We must look at the elected to surrender their dogs to animal rescue institutions. We therefore call on funding organizations to deviate from their norms and try and fund those organizations so that we can encourage more and more South Africans who are at liberty to surrender dogs and encourage them to surrender their dogs. It's not justify this. People have died. We are sitting with thousands and thousands, joggers. People are walking on the street, our children, our neighbors to those who own this breed are not safe. An 8-year-old has died while we were busy with this petition. We don't know if tomorrow another young life is going to die. The right to life, which is guaranteed by our Constitution. This monster, this dog with a killer instinct, is making our lives not to be safe. It must be removed from society. It is too late for all these arguments, which are scientific in nature, but providing no solution. Let us prevent our people, our children in particular, from dying unnecessarily.
All right, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much indeed. Sizwe Kupelo from the Kupelo Foundation. Lins Rautenbach, who is the Public Relations Officer at the Pitbull Federation of South Africa, and Karin, Pienaar, a lecturer in animal behaviour at the Centre of Applied Pet Ethology. Thanks indeed for joining us here on the programme. We really do appreciate it.